Hello, everyone. Welcome to another session of ILA Dialogues. Today we have with us Barrister Al Amin Rahman. Mr. Rahman has been the managing partner for Fox Mandal Associates for Bangladesh. Alongside, he has played a role of a consultant for World Bank, assisting them in several of their projects. Mr. Rahman has provided opinion on various projects in the matter of refugee status, migration law, human trafficking, citizenship, and nationality. Recently, he has worked with an INGO with regards to the Rohingya issues, particularly on the ongoing crisis in respect of their citizenship status. He has contributed in the business reports of World Bank. He was the legal advisor for International Finance Corporation, IFC, Japan External Trade Organization, and Japan International Cooperation Agency, JICA. Mr. Rahman facilitated IFC's joint venture program with AK Khan Water Health Bangladesh Limited, AK Khan and Company Limited, and Water Health International INC to develop, construct, and operate 50 community water systems project. GICA was assisted in conducting several detailed research on various legal issues of Bangladesh. He's also advised several clients on matters of foreign investment, existing conventions on Admiralty business consultancy in Bangladesh, anticipatory enforcement compilations in relation to different jurisdictions, monetary authorities, taxation and leasing, etc. Assisted Japan External Trade Organization on the laws of Bangladesh and issues relevant to investors in Bangladesh. Welcome, sir. Today, Mr. Rahman will be speaking on investment in Bangladesh.
Right. Thank you very much, Sudisha, for the kind introduction. And I would also like to thank Jamshed for the International Legal Alliance to organize this type of lectures. I think these are really very resourceful for lawyers. So I'll just add to what Sudisha said, that I'm the managing partner for Fox Mandal Bangladesh office. So we are a full service law firm as an introduction to our firm. And we have a full-fledged financial division wing, which deals with taxes, audits, and all those. So one of our key area is investment in Bangladesh. So obviously foreign investments coming in. So it tends that currently we are seeing a lot of investments coming in Bangladesh right now in several sectors. So we'll now get into the topic now, Sudisha. So firstly, I'd like to say that if you want to do a business in Bangladesh, what are the options that a foreigner or a foreign company may have in Bangladesh? So it starts with basically a private limited company, obviously a public limited company, or you can do a branch office or a foreign liaison office. So these are the common forms that how you can establish a name in Bangladesh, having it registered. So if you want to do business and want to remit money, obviously the primary options are public limited company or private limited company. So these are pretty much straightforward in Bangladesh. Probably it will take around 2 weeks, give or take, once all the documents are provided. And the government is very keen to receive foreign investments. So for that reason, to kickstart a company, within 15 days, you can obtain a company incorporation certificate. Following that, you need VAT, tax ID, and all these details as well. And obviously, there are some sector-specific requirements that's also required. If you want to do a factory, for example, so then you need to do a factory registration with the Bangladesh Investment Authority, BIDA, Bangladesh Investment Development Authority to be exact. So that's how you can do business. India being a big neighbor beside Bangladesh, we see a lot of investments are coming in through India. Like for example, there are Indian companies investing in Bangladesh, and also there are foreign companies who already have their footprint in India, and Bangladesh is just the next door neighbor to India. So they sometimes they invest or they go through the Indian office while investing in Bangladesh. Obviously, apart from India, we see also a lot that the foreign multinationals, they also use their Singapore, Hong Kong offices as well commonly. But India is obviously one of the options, and India being a important trading partner of Bangladesh, India is an important jurisdiction for Bangladesh, and I believe it's reciprocal as well. So if we are looking at investments in Bangladesh, what are the potential sectors that we see that the Indian investors are investing in Bangladesh? Now, firstly, I would like to focus on agro-business. So Bangladesh is very much agro-business focused. So agri-input sectors like seed, fertilizer, pesticide, immigration, machinery. More than 47% of the population is dependent on agriculture for livelihood. So there are more foreign investments requirement in this sector for this sector to grow. And government, for that reason, is providing a lot of incentives to the foreign companies to invest in this sector. So if we are looking at what are the special incentives, so there are 100% foreign equity is allowed. So it's allowed in most of the sectors in Bangladesh. Obviously, there are some very limited exceptions such as defense, nuclear energy, currency, and forest plantations. The tax intensive incentives are there for 5 to 7 years based on location and industry dependent. There is cash incentives. So electricity consumption is very much subsidized as much as 20% sometimes in agro processing sector. And the tariff-free access to European Union is there. So this is very important in from Bangladeshi perspective. So the Bangladeshi government has actually had to negotiate to obtain this tariff-free access to the European Union. And entrepreneurs equipment fund is also allowed in agro sector. So when we say EEF, so it basically means that there is a very low rate of interest while taking the loans. Usually in a country like Bangladesh, the loan rate is double digits, so starts with around, let's say 10% or more. So this is really low in that context. So moving along from agro, so the next one I would like to focus on is basically garments and textiles industry. So for Bangladesh, one of the bread and butter of the balance of payment of Bangladesh economy is obviously garments and textiles. This is one of the highest contributor in the Bangladesh economy. So from spinning to weaving to knitwear to leisurewear, high street fashions and the textiles and the clothing industry is Bangladesh's biggest export earners. So starting from Zara to Marks and Spencer to very common products in Walmart, all garments. So H&M, Disney. So all these companies are basically taking garments from Bangladesh. So I'm just telling very few of the names among a lot of names. So this sector now employs over 50% of the industrial workforce and accounts for 79% of the total export earnings in Bangladesh. So 79% of the total export earnings of the country. So obviously, as I said, that it is very important for Bangladesh. So a lot of special incentives in this case as well, like 15% cash subsidy of the fabric cost to exporters sourcing fabrics locally. Obviously, this is to discourage imports. Additionally, the government has created a high favorable policy framework for investment in these sectors, offering investors establishment of new textile RMG mill in private sector, joint ventures with the existing textile and RMG mill, acquisition of public sector mills that are being privatized. So this sometimes go through the privatization commission. So these things can sometimes be very good deals. And indirect investment through financial services or leasing. Obviously, the government is therefore supporting the spinners by providing low tariffs for machinery, spares, and raw materials, cash incentives, reduced tax rate, and low cost funding. As we have seen during the corona pandemic, obviously we are living in these extraordinary times right now. We have seen that Bangladesh government has actually bailed out the textile and garments industry to a certain extent. For example, giving interest-free loans or very less interest-based loans to the garments companies so that they can pay off workers and working capital as well. So obviously, again, in Bangladesh, garments and textile is very important for the whole country, and we, the people of Bangladesh, are very careful that how to deal with garments and textiles very efficiently. So that is another area. And now, as we see that after nowadays China has gone more expensive. Like it is, there is a comparison I was seeing a few days ago that if something, if a product costs $7 in China, not cost, the cost price I mean, if the cost price is $7 in China, that costs $1 in Bangladesh. So you can understand that Bangladesh is very cheap in context of producing all these garments and textile products. So I'll move along to the next sector, that's power sector. So power sector is again a top priority sector for overall development of the country. I can tell you that I think it's just 15 years ago, we used to see every day electricity cut-off, so a load shedding. So every day 2-3 hours, or even sometimes 5 hours in the summer, there wasn't electricity at homes or offices. So all offices and homes, those obviously who could afford, they actually established generator electricity production privately, so that the deficit could be supplied from this manner. So the total demand of production of electricity is projected to be more than 23,000 MV in 2021 and 50,000 MV in 2041. So Bangladesh has really improved from 2005 to what today 2020 is. So a lot of investments are happening here, and I can tell you that we have actually worked in one of the major projects with India. It's a Moitri Rampal project. So it's basically a Bangladesh and India government joint venture project. So it's done through NTPC, India, and Bangladesh Power Development Board. They did it together. So we were assisting the Indian government as the Bangladeshi Council. So it was done in that way. So there are a lot of special incentives that were given, and that's being given in power sector. Fiscal incentives and incentives for foreign investors to facilitate the investment in the power projects. Private power companies shall be exempt from corporate income tax for a period of 15 years. So for a period of 15 years that the income tax is being waived. So this is really a good lineup for this type of industry. And renewable energy sector. So obviously this is a growing thing in all the parts of the world, and Bangladesh is not an exception. Heavy investment in energy infrastructure has made improvements. By 2030, Bangladesh's power demand has increased enormously. Meeting this increase will create a multi-million-dollar opportunity for investments in Bangladesh. There are also special incentives here for financial incentives for energy infrastructure, tax and duty exemptions for energy equipments to prompt renewable energy in power sector. All renewable energy equipments and related raw materials in producing renewable energy equipments will be exempted from charging 15% VAT. So that's again very attractive to the investors. A network of microcredit support system will be established, especially in rural and remote areas, to provide financial support for purchases of renewable energy equipment. Renewable energy project investors, both in private and public sectors, shall be exempted from corporate income tax again, in this case 5 years. And incentive tariff is also considered. It's discretionary. It's not that you'll just get it as of right, but it's discretionary, but it's often given for electricity generated from renewable energy sources, which may be 10% higher than the highest purchase of electricity by the utility from the private generators. Then private sector participation, including joint venture initiatives in renewable energy development, will be encouraged and promoted. And now we are seeing actually that a lot of investments are actually happening here. A lot of queries we are receiving, especially I can tell from India or Singapore or Japan. We're seeing a lot of these type of things. And there are certain other remarkable sectors in Bangladesh that the foreigners are investing on. The next one would be ICT. So in ICT sector, we are seeing a lot of foreign investments happening. So in fact, I was just having a look in the newspaper today that almost 20% of the population is working in IT sector with IT outsourcing facilities and this type of works. So it's 20%. So it's 20%, not of the population, I'm sorry, but of the working class. I just rectified that. And leather, and the next industry would be leather and leather goods. Leather is very popular industry in Bangladesh. There are a lot of local entrepreneurs doing this, and leather goods are really high quality. We are seeing that these leather goods are being exported to various parts of the world, including US, Europe. And when I say Europe, I also mean Italy. So the Italian leather goods are very well known. So they're also taking it from Bangladesh. The next would be plastic. So plastic is a booming industry in Bangladesh. Obviously, plastic bags usage in Bangladesh is prohibited long back. I think it's almost 12, 13 years ago it was prohibited. But the plastics, when I say plastic sector, I mean plastic products, not really plastic bags. It's also happening. Then shipbuilding sector is there. Bangladesh is also now producing ships and all this type of things which are being exported to various parts of the world. So it is also a very diversified sector. And we are seeing investments. Recently, we have done something that the investment was done from Netherlands with Bangladesh. It was a joint venture. So next would be tourism. So a lot of tourism opportunities are there. Bangladesh is a country of 170 million people. So obviously a lot of tourism opportunities. All the big names are coming in as brand hotels in Bangladesh, and a lot of hotels are actually happening, not only in capital Dhaka, but in various parts of the country. Obviously, the major cities in Bangladesh should be Dhaka, Chittagong, Khulna, Rajshahi, and for tourism, Sylhet, Cox's Bazar, and Khulna, which is basically the Sundarbans. So in these areas, we are seeing a lot of promising hotels with international names that are happening. So we have seen that moving from tourism industry, that we have seen that the medical equipment sector, government is now really looking forward to receive investments in medical equipment sector and healthcare both. While in this extraordinary time after Corona got through in Bangladesh fully and people were alarmed and there was a lockdown, so we have actually seen that there is a keen need of better hospitals or more hospitals, especially with ICU facilities and everything. So Bangladesh has been very poor in this context. So government is really looking forward to have healthcare sectors, and for medical equipments that already during the Corona pandemic, there are a few local companies in Bangladesh who have started producing ICU machines and everything. So government is looking into these things as well. So these are more or less the sectors I think I would like to focus on. Obviously, there is more as well, but these are the major ones we see for foreign investments. And the usual invested sectors in India would include textiles, pharmacy, consumer goods, telecommunication, Sorry, I just got in between. So in the energy sector, so the usual investment sectors in Bangladesh. So I'll start with energy and try to name a few and then move on. There's the Motri power project in Rampal, which I said that we actually advised the Indian government during their JV with Bangladesh. There's the Megdegan power project. There are also some LNG terminals happening between Indian and Bangladeshi companies. Textile industry, there are a lot of Indian companies are investing in this area. Automotive, Mahindra, Tata, Bajaj, TVS, Hero. So all these big names from India are there. So they are trying to create a market here. Obviously, Bangladesh is being dominated by Japanese cars. So they're still trying to get a market, but that's regard to cars. So with regards to bikes, so the Indian automotive companies are doing really good. They have got a very high market share. And in the telecommunication, obviously, we have now Airtel. Airtel took over UAE-based company. So, and they are one of the 5 mobile operators in Bangladesh where Airtel is operating. And the trend of increase in Indian investments. So if we see that in 2005, it was 27 million. And in 2011-12, it's 197 million. So the trend is increasing to a very high extent. In 7 years, there is almost 50% increase, more than 50% increase. And the government is also taking steps to provide importance to the Indian investors. For example, there are special economic zones only for Indian investors. And there are also ports that's being developed by Indian conglomerate, Adani Ports, if I name it. And there are also, one more thing I must add, in this special economic zone. So the special economic zone, they are provided not only for the Indian companies producing goods here and selling it here, but also re-exporting back to India, especially in the Seven Sister State. So Seven Sister State has got more mobility through Bangladesh. The cost gets cheaper rather than, let's say, if any company wants to send goods to Seven Sisters, let's say from Delhi or Pune, it's easier and cheaper to do it through Bangladesh. So we're seeing now a lot of companies are routing through Bangladesh while sending goods to Seven Sisters, Indian companies I'm referring to. So there are some strong points of investing in Bangladesh should be good microeconomic stability characterized by high growth rate of 7.1% in 2017. So, and a satisfactory level of public debt. This where we are expecting the highest economic growth. However, thanks to COVID-19, so this is not happening this year. It's an open and diverse economy, a very low cost workforce, a strategic geographic location as a gateway to countries in the Asia Pacific region, a strategic and competitive position in the value chain in the global economy, and the economic and legislative environment globally favorable to businesses. So, for example, in employment law, the employment laws or the company laws, they are more company friendly as opposed to the other side. Well, if I'm including few weakness as well, to be fair, so that would be that the country's infrastructure is still weaker. So government is expecting more investments in infrastructure, and obviously the judicial system. I being a lawyer, I feel that the pace of the judicial system is still a bit slow compared to other progressive countries. And the Bangladeshi exports are highly dependent on garments and textile sector. So obviously, it's not good to have all the eggs in the same basket. So obviously, Bangladesh needs to diverse on other areas more. And lastly, I'd like to say vulnerability to natural disasters. Bangladesh is more prone to natural disasters, cyclones, severe floods that result in substantial income losses in Bangladesh. So this is more or less an investment in Bangladesh, and I'd like to welcome any comments if you have any.
Does anybody have any questions they would like to ask, sir?
Yeah, I'd like to ask, you spoke about the judicial system, but do you also have a robust, international arbitrations system to take care of disputes, especially with SEZs and things like that?
Yes, thank you very much for the question. We do have specialized institutions for taking care of arbitration. This is known as BIA, Bangladesh International Arbitration Center. Apart from that, we have arbitration law, Bangladesh Arbitration Act. So we have this too. But the mindset of judiciary, this is something which I feel that still needs to change more, that when there are arbitrations agreements and anything as such between the parties, we sometimes see that a court of law is still interfering, though there is no jurisdiction and the court's taking it personally. So we have seen that, or when there is an arbitration proceeding going on, we have sometimes seen that a court is basically interrupting on that arbitration proceeding and sometimes giving a stay order. So this mindset is slowly changing, but still I think there is a lot of things that needs to happen on this.
Anybody else for any more questions? I think that's it, sir. Thank you, sir. We're really
You're
glad
welcome.
to host you. That was really, really insightful. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Disha. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.